Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the shoes, or maybe the wooden clogs, of medieval peasants who tackled brutal winters with more grit than a season finale cliffhanger. Picture yourself nestled in a sea of fluffy blankets, a bit like a medieval peasant trying to shield against the creeping cold drafts of a half-timbered hovel. You probably won't survive this chilly journey without a few heated chuckles to keep you warm. But hey, that's what I'm here for, right? A sleepy friend guiding you down memory lane, or rather, history lane. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up in a quaint medieval village where every building seems to be a patchwork of timber and daub, cozier than even your mismatched pajamas. The sun barely peeks over the horizon, casting a gentle glow that struggles to cut through the lingering morning fog. The breath of winter mixes with the smell of wood smoke and earthy hay. It's almost like nature's attempt at an ambient winter candle. You wrap yourself tighter in layers upon layers of woolen clothes, an ancient version of your favorite fuzzy socks, and head out to face the day, aware that resisting the cold is like taking a stroll against a brisk wind that bites harder than your neighbor's Yorkshire Terrier. Socks, as prosaic as they were, are the talk of the town, evolving into fashionable layers against those chill vibes that medieval winters tend to deal. Honestly, the medieval fashionista was all about layers, like you double up on hoodies in your overly air-conditioned office. Wool was the most trusted ally, woven into a tunic or cape-like overgarment. Historians still argue whether layering truly started as a survival tactic or an accidental fashion statement when medieval closets burst with undarned holes. And let me tell you, rocking a mismatched ensemble wasn't just stylish, it was practical. Imagine peeling off yet another itchy, uncomfortably stiff layer, with medieval fleas hoping for a joyride on your warmth express. Let's just say, personal space was an unknown concept, with layers doubling as both heat retention and flea playgrounds. Right now, as you scroll through winter fashion hacks on TikTok with 2% battery life, it's worth noting that life was more about survival than trending. Okay, so here's the wild part. Medieval life wasn't all grit and grind. The kitchen, the cozy, smoky heart of the home, held magical elements akin to an adventurous culinary binge watch. Spices, the gold dust of medieval cooking, added more than flavor. They turned broths and stews into something of a medieval symphony. Bet you didn't think cinnamon would have such power, huh? Did you know that adding spices like pepper and cinnamon to your stew meant you were basically a culinary wizard? Sure, you won't find medieval folk filming recipe reels during dinner prep, but strange enough, each meal was an event no less intricate than a full-season Netflix arc. This was the period where people could finally say, meat and potatoes were so last season. And they did say it, even if today's folks would just tweet that with a rolling eyes emoji. With your humble wooden spoon, hey, silverware was mostly for nobility and shiny Instagram aesthetics. You taste the stew, spicy aromas mingling like whispered lullabies. Spices weren't just kitchen seasoning, they were status symbols. Imagine how liberating it must have felt to procure a pinch of cinnamon, considering many of you happily tap OMG to a foodie post featuring gold-flaked steaks. Here's a funny sidebar. In medieval times, they used dried herbs like sage and thyme liberally to ward off evils. And kidney stones? That's right. So, next time you shake some salt over your fries at 11:47 p.m., like it's an ancient remedy, know you're sharing a laugh with the ancestors. Picture the most contentious debate of our day: pineapple on pizza or not? Replace that with a medieval dinner table. Except they argued more about whether pigs fed on oak seeds could bless the year's bacon with a better flavor. Historians still dispute why some villages preferred chestnut-fed pigs, leading to deliciously unending debates that echo through history like that meme game of "Why did the chicken cross the road?" but with surprisingly tastier implications. Dinner time wrapped up with tales exchanged by the fire, their voluminous tones more comfortable than your coziest worn-out couch. Peasants relied on each other for tales as they braced against drafts, listening to implausible tales like a dream shared among it-friendly skeptics of the Middle Ages. As you finish the last bits of your broth, you allow your eyes to gently close, embracing this ancient rhythm. These hours of fireside storytelling dissolve like the ending credits to your favorite marathon series. Gentle, sweet, and undeniably satisfying. But, seriously, trying to survive medieval winters was also about mastering the combination of wit, grit, and accidentally hilarious debates over sock layers. Waking up the next morning, you find yourself snug under a blanket that's somehow both scratchy and comforting, as if all the sheep in the village had schemingly collaborated in this blanket's creation. Your eyelids heavy, but spirits lifted. You drag yourself into the day, occasionally stopping to rub your cold nose, which, let's be honest, isn't an ideal method of warming up, but feels kind of natural. You step outside, greeted by the crisp winter air nipping a tad too playfully at your cheeks, and you swear you can hear the frost giggling. Nature's way of saying, "Good luck today." As you trudge through the snow-crusted road, you kind of miss central heating. The frost crunches underfoot, reminiscent of biting into that first crispy bite of cereal, though the milk here is ice cold in a way that even a morning sleepyhead might deem snappishly fresh. Medieval life teaches you to keep moving, unlike our modern habit of cozying up during a Netflix binge for hours. Adventuring through ancient forests, or at least pretending to be busy, was an essential survival skill. Suddenly, you stumble upon a peculiar scene. Villagers gathered around a large, flat stone, rhythmically beating it with sticks, almost like a primitive percussion concert, but with more wool clinging to leggings. These are the kind of mundane noises that would make ASMR fans tingle. The stone, you realize, is used for washing clothes. Laundry day was a public event. No laundromats here, and certainly no detergent pods that kids keep thinking are snacks. The washing brought people together, a communal affair where secrets were whispered over the slap-slap of wet clothes meeting stone. Despite the sounds of labor, the chatter was vibrant, accented by jokes that would, in modern times, make it on to B-grade stand-up routines. During these gatherings, the village learned who fancied whom, how Sam the Smith's stew mishap went viral last night, the medieval version of social media drama, but with bark instead of likes. Here's a wild little quirky fact. They believed that washing clothes during certain lunar phases could attract or repel fortune, depending on who you asked. Historians still argue whether there was any merit to these beliefs, or if this was early evidence of superstition mixing with homemaking instincts. Nighttime energy saving was a myth, but during the day, every little superstitious edge felt worth the attempt. The most quirky part of laundering clothes was the persistent debate over undergarments, or the lack thereof. You probably wouldn't guess it, but medieval peasants often skipped them, finding them unnecessary or beyond the threadbare budget. The modern equivalent might just be bending over to pick up the post in your robe and realizing belatedly that your hood covers less than expected. With freshly washed clothes shared out in misty bundles, you make your way back to the hut, past children making the most of the snowfalls. You find them rolling uneven snow boulders for what seems like an enormous snowball. As it turns out, medieval kids were just as innovative in inventing perilously explosive games. And here's the kicker. They called it snowballin', kind of like streaking back then, where parents disapproved and the kids just couldn't care less. This innocent fun morphs into discussions at night by the warmth of the hearth. Families gather, flickering candlelight casting mystical shadows, dancing along the rush-covered floors. Today's stories are meant to teach wisdom, or perhaps impart the unwritten rules of survival, including don't dare the fox to a snowball fight. There's something to the initial refusal, a hint of bewilderment, but the joy daren't fade as the day's stories fill the room like the scent of freshly baked bread. There's always warmth in shared tales, the simple joy of family time. Rehashing the day feels eerily akin to your family chats post-movie night, where everyone shares the flick's ups and downs over late-night popcorn. There's a heartfelt closeness nurtured in those moments, defined more by laughter than structure. Peeling away from the warm light of the hearth, you retreat to the gentle stillness of your bed space, bracing against the unyielding cold that pervades the night. Tucking your knowledge of peasant life in like an old, treasured bookmark for another evening. You find comfort knowing that though history might sleep under layers of frosty forgetfulness, these medieval winters taught lessons in humility, resilience, and the strangely treasured chaos of communal living. You awake the next morning, greeted by a world bathed in soft shades of gray, with frost etching delicate patterns on the cottage windows. It's a beauty you can appreciate, even as you ponder huddling back under the covers, just for a few more cozy moments, much like hitting that snooze button a couple of times too many. Eventually, you arise to face another day in the life of a medieval villager, contemplating how such cold could weave itself so intricately into the tapestry of human experience, yet remind you wistfully of frosty mornings spent avoiding the outside world. The ringing crunch of icy footfalls accompanies you to the village square, echoing the snores of those still cocooned indoors. The sun peers between cloud banks like a shy friend who eventually joins the winter party, offering just a tease of warmth. Nearly identical wooden structures huddled together, more to share warmth than design aesthetics, gathering snowflakes like fashionistas gather attention. You pass by the market, where simple, everyday items are vital lifelines, not just spontaneous clearance aisle whims. Here's an eyebrow-raising tidbit for you. Did you know medieval people thrived on jelly eels during some of their harshest winters? It's true. Those sinewy fish provided sustenance to tides of hungry peasantry. You might be making a face right now, as if you've just found another bewilderingly topped bagel from the NY side of New York. But back then, jelly eels were way more hip than you'd ever expect. Stopping by the market stall with envied beelines of rising steam from fresh bread, your hunger quiets the whispers, keying in to what few medieval villagers would ever dish out openly. how their staple bread evolved into something akin to today's secret grown-worthy travel snacks. The pantry whisperings sustain through winter, like tails spinning webs on amber-tongued trails. There's comforting clinking of mortar and pestle, an amalgam of homeopathic remedies only a basket's throw away from a kitchen cupboard. Truly, people of this era had their own version of Googling how to get my life together at unsociably late hours. Historians still argue whether medieval folk suffered seasonal affective disorder or a distant cousin, maybe acedia, which painted a sort of winter melancholy long before foreboding clouds even rolled in. Who knows? Maybe it was just the lack of vitamin D, a biological longing for sunlight, which, funny enough, isn't all that dissimilar to someone staring wistfully at their glowing device, long past healthy bedtime. But then, here's the whimsical joy. Life punctuated by vibrant feast days sprinkled among the weeks. These celebrations brought festivity to the otherwise somber winter, their vibrant flavors practically slicing through the thick air. Dancing, feasting, and reveling livened up even the dreariest calendars. And while people today might order in out of convenience post-shopping trip, medieval folk whipped out their best spread from what seems simply conjured from expectation. One such day wraps itself around the villagers like a warm cloak. The winter solstice, that pivotal day, marks when the skies creak through ancient eaves, balancing hope as it sunbeams through the physical manifestations of warm hearths and cold bangs. To this day, historians quibble over whether the people genuinely celebrated or simply greeted it warily as a major historic decision point. You can imagine them now, spirits equally high and awry, mulling on mismatched themes nearly as much as the modern holiday frets over perpetual Christmas carols. As the sky darkens, laughter fills the air with its cascading notes, their vibrant echoes chasing shadows away. The ground, threatened by ice, now sparkles with the tiny footprints of dancers swaying to the music of harps and pipes. Songs turn to stories, with legends spilling from lips like warm cider from mugs. It's rather like exchanging memes in today's group chats, a shared snippet that sticks with you longer than expected, brightening perhaps a dreary afternoon just enough, even if thanks to a warm neighbor's exaggerated resolutions. The scent of relic crumb cakes and dark mead rises like spirals of memory's incense, retracing joy into layered corridors of winteriness. Frost blossoms upon those worn, ancient heads, become crowns woven with festive furrows and smirks. Through all this liveliness, there's affluence and warmth, a unique fire that fire emboldens till it burns past midnight's breath. This blend of moments sings as one, a brew echoing through time's alternative paradigm, grooming narratives rich enough to wear upon shared dreams when your world's ground feels as frosted as untouched forest floors, sleeping in their quiet sanctuaries. As you make your way back, cheeks flushed and heart merry, you cradle each element of that medieval day within you, much like treasuring glossy clips inserted into the archives of memory. There's a rare coziness built by these nurturing embraces that, like favorite songs, never truly fade. They're just hums you hear overlapping in sleep's gentle thrums. The sun begins to slip below the horizon, casting a golden shimmer across the snow that settles like quiet whispers of all the days before it. You wander back to your humble abode, the outline of it unfurling against the evening shadows, like a haven from the enduring frost. Inside, it's the kind of warm that feels all-encompassing, like the relief of slipping into your favorite pair of slippers after a long day out in the cold. The hearth crackles, embers dancing in a glow that bathes everything in a gentle, forgiving light. As you shrug off the layers, each piece feeling like an old friend, you join the small circle of hearthside gatherers, all collectively inching closer for both warmth and company. Tonight's supper bubbles gently over the fire, melding familiar notes of root vegetables with tender morsels of cured meats. It's the sort of meal that doesn't just fill the belly, but weaves a certain spell of homeliness, pulling all to the table in a comforting magnetism you've known since childhood dinners. Now, here's where things take a peculiar turn. In an interesting bit of trivia, medieval peasants used to preserve meats by wrapping them in snow. Yes, in a time before the convenience of your refrigerator, which hums your midnight meditations, they leaned on what nature provided. Imagine opening a snowbank like a modern icebox and finding surprises tucked neatly inside. No flicking through shelves of forgotten midnight snacks here. Just reliable cuts of meat kept until their flavor could truly shine. As the meal winds down, stories begin to spin lazily in the warm air. Narratives passed from one voice to another, with the practiced comfort of a bedtime story. Historians still plunge blades of debate into the heart of medieval sagas, wondering whether these narratives were mere fabrications, or perhaps threads of truth woven together to patch the gaps between fact and fancy. What tales survive? Ones of gallant knights, mischief-loving sprites, and wayward princes retain a resonance that wafts through history's corridors, somehow clinging like the bittersweet scent of forgotten pines. For real, though, did peasants truly believe all these tales? Well, the line between belief and entertainment is not so easily drawn. Those stories, much like today's viral conspiracy theories or urban legends, dance somewhere between impossibility and the murmurs of the full moon's promises. Honestly, they're akin to that cryptic text from an unknown number you're too intrigued to delete and too wary to open, occupying an in-between that teases and teeters right on reality's edge. The night stretches on, paving the way for raucous laughter and soft-voiced secrets traded on a snowfall of nostalgia. Old socks drying by the fire join in the chorus of crackling logs, vibrations that leap through the air as tidily as your shared memes leap across timelines. The glowing comfort of familiarity dressing up the ordinary. In the quiet lull that follows, a lullaby shared gently by elders wraps its lyrical arms around wooden walls, murmuring tales through dream-fringed eyefuls and warm timber reverberations. You may not understand each word, but the meaning, like a well-loved melody, is clear. A tale of survival, full of whispered advice and hopes folded between peace-filled notes. And then, there's the sound of spinning wheels, a rhythmic hum punctuating the night, like the soft click of fingers weaving through the charms of Instagram posts that keep you from sleep. Their rotations hum a song of creation, of resourcefulness that threads the very fabric of peasant life. Woolen garments spun with care are the heartbeats of cold seasons, each thread a testament to perseverance, swirling together into a tapestry as intricate as any TikTok dance routine. Eventually, the flickering candles burn lower, the room sighing into a deep, contented silence as stars peek through the small window, watchful sentinels of another completed day. There's solace in knowing that, amid cold drafts and the nighttime creaks, a snug home awaits with warmth layered like patchwork clouds, a comfort as full as the night humming with moonlit dreams. As sleep beckons, You fall into it gratefully, like yielding to a gentle tide where past and present intertwine, leading you back to a world that knows no bounds, only gentle, endless explorations. In these dreams, as rich as the winter stew you dined upon, joy and history marry within a narrative as old as time itself, cradling you gently through all the chill-filled nights. Another day dawns, filtering its pale light through tiny frosted panes, leaving your room awash with a soft, sleepy glow. You stretch out from the comforting cocoon of blankets, wiggling toes and testing the cool air with a hesitant hand, like stepping cautiously into a chilly morning lake. It's the medieval version of setting 5 alarms and instantly regretting each as you drift back to those 5 sweet minutes of slumber between snoozes. As you slip into your day's attire, you wonder how medieval peasants found solace in their constant hustle. But such musings are brushed aside as the day's routine gently nudges you along. Outside, thin tendrils of smoke rise from chimneys, intertwining against a backdrop of whispering winds. These communal smoke signals offer reassurance, like the comforting flicker of a charging icon on your phone. Signs that life plods on, even amid the frost-covered landscapes. The village awakens in a gradual symphony of creaks and soft footsteps over the snow-dusted earth. Neighbors exchange greetings, head nods, and laughter, the language of community deeply rooted here, relaying louder warmth than ever-evolving weather forecasts could provide. You join in, contributing joking comments that bring smiles brighter than a sunbeam warming a chilly morning bench. A historical snippet for you. Medieval folk were rather ingenious in keeping their homes warm, or as close to it as possible. They would stuff straw between rafters for insulation, creating an early version of wall stuffing. Sure, modern insulation might have the edge, but straw did its humble best alongside thick walls bracing against wintry nights. Marching through the chill feels a little like exploring forgotten iTunes playlists. Familiar tracks weave warmth into the frosty backdrop, snipping short the tendrils of disconnect. In between necessary tasks, which run like common threads through every frosty day, you spot children trotting along, leaving behind imprints in the snow, moving with a playfulness that reminds you of pressing old-fashioned buttons with modern resolve. Their game involves tossing sticks into the ice-cold river, watching with glee as the current carries on. It's a simple marvel, a Snapchat of their existence, sending ripples through shared amusement, an unblemished tribute to winter's youthful abandon. Nearby, work on community projects is underway. These collaborations, reminiscent of team-building exercises that some people secretly dread but seem to get through with more kindness, bind the villagers with a shared sense of purpose. Today, they're busy thatching a roof belonging to an elderly neighbor. Every swing of the hammer sends resilience slicing through the frosty air. Each synchronized task aligning without need for an email prompt or calendar reminder. Synchronicity driven by instinct and a shared need for shelter. Historians still argue whether the strength of community bonds could overshadow the harshness of medieval winters. While the specifics are debated, the whispering echoes of goodwill remain as ineffable as they are comforting. Whether those small acts of neighborly kindness carried more weight than even the heaviest snowfalls remains an open question, waiting for answers that winter's chill can never entirely freeze. The day stretches, pulling unexpectedly toward its cozy heart, the comforting kitchen, where today's fare is prepared with the armored resolve of ingredients on a quest for warmth. You feel a familiar pang of hunger, an old friend, accompanying stories that pass the daylight hours. These narratives, as vibrant as the vegetables you find simmering once more in the pot, remind you they're the staple as much as sustenance itself. It feels a little like sharing a pizza with friends, each slice fostered with conversation, binding words as proof of existence beyond mere seasons. The flickering hearth glows tenderly, as if practicing its stage presence for tonight's final encore. The sticks of firewood crackle enthusiastically, their spirit woven from the simplest of elements: wood, air, and intention. It's like setting up your sound system for yet another cozy movie night, where familiarity and delight orbit around you like shadowed moons. As daylight closes its curtain with a golden sigh, you fall into a pattern of the familiar. Villagers lean into each other's stories, exchanging gifts wrapped in laughter, held tight by the threads of community. The coating on the world outside thickens with expected frost, but beside each other, you find warmth layered more generously than any woolen garment. Finally, with your eyes heavy-lidded from the day's gentle offerings, you crawl into bed. Here, beneath the protective weight of night and the heartbeat of ancestral tales, you discover space to dream of timeless winters, merging with the rhythmic hum of your reality. As candle shadows weave faint lines across the walls, marking spaces beyond themselves, you slip quietly into the night's embrace, ever loyal to the cozy promises wrapped in medieval wonder. As morning unfurls in that gentle, almost apologetic way of midwinter light, you find yourself nestled in a comfort that feels as precious as it is fleeting. You snuggle deeper into the warmth of your bed, a space crafted with blankets layered like patches on a quilt, each fiber holding secrets shared across centuries. The world outside breathes gently under a mantle of fresh snow, whispers of tranquility in every soft curve and holler. You ease out of bed with the reluctant grace of a cat awakening from a sunbeam nap, and the cool air tickles your skin like a mischievous sprite. There's a rhythm to the routine, much like coffee brewing in the morning, or that habitual phone check for notifications you swear you'll quit obsessing over one day. The villagers begin their own routines, threading old paths lined by stoic trees that keep their vigil through time's changing seasons. There's a particular beauty in the mundane tasks, a cadence to chores that transforms small acts into gestures both tender and enduring. Today, you join a friend in gathering kindling from the forest's edge, one of those necessary errands that's less about the work and more about the shared stories lightening the burden. Conversations ripple like the brook beneath the frozen crust, weaving warmth into every frosty breath. Here's a quirky fact to ponder while you stroll. Back in the day, some peasants believed that if you watch closely, the patterns of wind-made ripples on a river's surface could predict personal fortunes. Picture it as ancient fortune-telling or medieval water divination, where a mere glance into nature's mirror might reveal one fate or another. It's like reading tea leaves, or perhaps scrolling through horoscope apps to decipher your day through planetary whims. As you return home, arms laden with wood bundles, traces of frost in your hair, the sun plunges headlong into dusk's embrace, a slow-motion spread, hand-painted across the sky. With night inching closer, the village folds into itself, drawing warmth inward like a snugged-down cat expecting soon-to-be-served supper time. You gather around the evening meal, a feast prepared with unpretentious care, the scents wrapping you in a tapestry of simple affections. You ladle steaming stew into a humble bowl, the heat a balm to both body and spirit, reminiscent of that satisfying warmth when your skin first breaks pleasantly after a hot shower on a cold day. Between savory bites, conversations rise and fall, each anecdote tendered like a shared dessert, fleeting yet filling. Historians still engage in friendly debates upon whether the tales of knights and their celebrated winter exploits were fanciful storytelling or reflections of reality. A question like the riddle, where you're unsure where the line arches into imagination. These stories, passed down through nights like this, were an integral fabric of peasant lore, perhaps embellished with each telling, yet steadfast in their quickly learned morals. Peering into the crackling hearth, you consider how these flickering moments might be preserved, how future generations will look back upon us with equal wonder and amusement. Maybe they'll read about how evenings are filled with community connections as inseparable as any fiber woven through time. Ancient travelers in worlds unmarked by technology, yet wholly connected, much like setting a library hold that lets you claim stories with free-lending awe. The hearth fire begins its familiar descent into embers, its dance a cozy rhythm akin to music boxes you've heard warn their audience of closure. Gradually, quietness envelops the room. The shadows deepen as the candles softly burn their way into dreams. You find yourself drawn deeper into stillness, where imagination and reality melt together like warm butter over fresh from the oven bread. Finally, you retreat to your slumber space, blanket cocoon morphing into dreamtime haven. Here, with frosted starlight caressing window panes and night whispers weaving a lullaby from the world beyond, you slip ever so gently into the comforting fold of sleep's tapestry. The stories of old swirl into your consciousness, mesmerizing as those gently spiraling snowflakes. And as you drift, held by the echoes of medieval winters, the world takes on the tender blur of a half-remembered tale once woven into your own lifeline's dream. The morning settles softly over the village, with light filtering through the window panes like a painter's gentle brushstroke, the kind that eases into the day, lingering warmly before nudging you awake. You greet the cold air with less reluctance now, finding comfort in the familiarity, the reliable rhythm of another wintry dawn. It's not so different from the comfort you find flipping through pages of a well-worn book, where every crease and dog-ear marks a cherished moment. Stepping outside, you're welcomed by the subtle, comforting cadence of village life stirring to action. The world seems almost poised in a serene tableau, with tendrils of smoke curling from chimneys against a vast, pale sky. There's a unique, almost magical quality to how life continues despite winter's persistent chill, where hearths blaze and laughter spills unfettered from cozied-up gatherings, casting warm signatures against the biting cold. This new day brings with it preparations for yet another winter tradition, a communal gathering much like those that might remind you of potlucks, where each villager contributes a dish to share. They're assemblies that celebrate existence itself, where stories are exchanged with dishes and laughter flows as easily as today's punch, brewed with enough spice and vigor to make even the hardiest elders grin. Among the fare crafted by hands seasoned in the mystique of simple cooking, there's one clear favorite: honey cakes, as golden and sticky as good conversation, treasured by all. Here's an amusing tidbit. In medieval times, these sweet treats were often made not just as desserts, but also as tokens of affection, slipped shyly into a neighbor's hand or tucked discreetly into holiday deliveries. They're like the ancient version of sending a quick text emoji to brighten someone's day. As you gather with others around the banquet, you imagine the conversations weaving an invisible web, drawing tales and songs from secret wells within everyone. Tonight, someone spins a yarn of a knight's daring rescue, but honestly, desperate chickens seem hilariously the heroes here, squawking triumphantly against imaginary foes. It turns into a tale less valiant, more comedic, as little heads nod in drowsy delight, imagining clucking feathery champions. Historians still wonder whether these gatherings were genuine escapes for the medieval mind, or a necessity in building resilience against solitude. Perhaps both. The echoes of shared laughter weaving louder the resilience that homes the human spirit. Warm cheeks reflect shining eyes, and you wonder on these occasions whether they felt a common link, a bond that withstands the slippery slope of personal isolation, much like furrowing into a good book to brace against drearier times. Later, as platters empty and the gathering slowly disperses, the warmth lingers like the sweet trailing notes of a lullaby, rising into the cold night's air. With breath condensing in little dreamy puffs, you retreat with laughter still tickling your ears, a sound memory raining across history's softly lit path. Back at home, the fire has shrunk to mere embers, winking like drowsy fireflies settled in for a snug night's perch. You sit for a moment, watching the glow before turning in, the shadows gently curling against walls, wrapped in quiet contemplation, like a parent pulling a blanket over slumbering children. Finally, with a yawn, you make your way to bed, the night embracing you with a tranquility only known by those who've lived amidst the embrace of communities bathed in both frost and warmth. As sleep claims you, it's easy to dream of those old, yet ever-relevant tales, their seams unraveling in dawn's gentle light, promising to weave into memories of tomorrow. Cocooned in peace, you move through the threads of night like a voyager through time, carried by tales just as old, shaped by people no longer strangers, but companions on this journey. You drift, held by the tender suspense of tomorrow's adventures, and by the soft embrace of medieval winters, whispering you a world only they truly know. The nights have grown longer, cradling the village in a deep enveloping quiet that stretches across each frost-bitten eve. Each morning, you wake to find the world unchanged, yet gently renewed, as if the very breath of winter holds it in a tender, protective embrace. There's comfort in the consistency, much like that unwavering friend who always has your back, no matter the season. Outside, the landscape is a monochrome quilt, stitched together by the delicate threads of snow-capped branches and the soft laughter of cold-tinged streets. As you step out, breath unfurling like whispered secrets in the chilled air, you brace yourself for the day ahead, knowing that each step forward is a dance with tradition and time, a nod to the tasks that have woven through your communal life for centuries. Today, you join a neighbor on an errand to the nearby woods, a venture not unlike those weekly grocery runs where you aim to fill carts and catch up, even if only on the latest neighborhood gossip. Armed with woven baskets and a determined spirit, you trudge through the crunchy snow, the familiar trails beneath hibernating trees serving as your guide, much like well-worn paths leading toward the produce aisle. While you walk, the conversation ebbs and flows, soft kernels of news and laughter, punctuated by the rhythmic crunch of footsteps. Here's a curious snippet of history to muse over while you collect firewood. Medieval folk often placed great belief in wood's mystical qualities, particularly yew and ash. They believed venerable trees held ancient spirits, possessing qualities that might heal the spirit or perhaps transport the mind on forgotten journeys. It's a charming imagination, making you think of today's fondness for saying a pair of shoes can take you to brave new worlds, or transform someone from a mere mortal into almost anything fantastic. With baskets full and fingers tinged with the forest's chill, you make your way back home, entertained by the tales and tranquility found only in nature's alleys. Back in the village, as the sun dips lower into the horizon, the cadence of daily life offers an innocent soundtrack, one blending with hearth-cracking warmth and the soft murmurs of village folk swapped over fences. There's a certain charm to evenings like this, spent in the timeless warmth of feet propped up beside a glowing hearth. With another night's meal simmering in the cradle of flickering light, you'll share today's spoils with a bent ear and open heart. A humble meal, but one rich with flavor, where each ingredient holds a tale. Stories food mapped across your palate, much like flavors of home lingering from an old family recipe. Historians still argue whether stories passed down through such wintry nights were faithful recollections or ever-shifting myths. Was it mere embellishments of life's memory? A retelling of tales woven in between the changing shadows of fire-lit walls. Whether accurate records or filtered truths, these stories shape the imagination stretching along those gentle nights, binding past to present as a quiet witness. And here's the lovely thing. A moment for gentle self-reflection steals over you, softly as twilight laces village contours, and you realize how these quiet, cherished remembrances unite you with a past still sweetly unfamiliar, yet having kissed you with its spirit blend of merry resilience. It's not unlike discovering a forgotten song in your playlist and feeling layers of nostalgia absorbing into every note. As the meal dwindles, the room fills with a delicious medley of lingering scents and the languid murmurs of a day well lived. You gather bits of the day, cherished offerings to your memory's vault, while the room wears the deep echoes of your ancestors' quiet laughter and strong, clear voices. Soon, surrounded by slumber-steeped air, you gather yourself to bed, those embers now softer within the glowing embrace of night. The tales of the day settle into your consciousness, finding their place in dreams that soothe and sustain you, whispering wordlessly into the stories that make up you. And as you drift off, cradled by the faithful embrace of medieval winter's legacy, your mind weaves its own tapestry of tales, threads that carry you through slumber, linking collective histories to personal journeys, gently harmonized beneath eternal starlight. Here, the night stretches infinitely, embracing your heart with age-old fidelity while carrying you into dreams locked together in the heartbeats of winter's tranquil, timeless night. Another day greets you with the gentle persistence of a sleepy sunrise, coaxing the village into wakefulness with its soft glow. You find yourself nestled in that sweet spot between sleep and waking, where dreams linger like gentle whispers at the edge of consciousness. Slowly, you rise, savoring the warmth of lingering blankets before stepping into the crisp embrace of a winter morning. It's that familiar dance we all know when you're not quite ready to leave the comfort of your bed, but the promise of the day gently urges you forward. Outside, the world is bathed in hues of quiet white and soft gray, with the air holding a crispness that feels almost invigorating. It all invites you into a sort of mindful presence, like when you stop to enjoy that first sip of morning coffee. The day unfolding with a serene clarity that makes even the mundane feel magical. You breathe in deeply, the cold air an invigorating tonic, filling your lungs and sharpening your senses for the day ahead. Today's tasks take you to the heart of the village, where the marketplace thrums with life despite the chill, like the gentle hum of a refrigerator in a quiet kitchen. Stalls are lined with winter goods. There's no bustling rush as in summer markets, but instead, a kind of leisurely exchange under the watchful gaze of frosty rooftops. You skirt around puddles of half-melted snow, acknowledging familiar faces with a nod as you drift from vendor to vendor. Here's an intriguing tidbit to brighten your walk. Medieval marketplaces often featured more than just physical wares. They were places to share wisdom and local news, much like a medieval version of Reddit threads, but spoken aloud with a knowing glance or two. Information sprawled between traders like well-worn tales shared at a family reunion, adding warmth and color that transcends any weather's chill. Amid these stalls, filled with winter roots and jars of preserved bounty, special care is reserved for the rare treat of candied fruits. In an era where sugar was as precious as gold, they were regarded as a luxury. Small jewels of sweetness hidden away until the right moment. Imagine them as the grand reveal of a long-awaited series finale, savored over conversation, without the modern trappings of pageantry. Historians still debate whether these markets were purely transactional or if they also served as social arenas, fostering community connections as vital as the goods exchanged. Some argue that the bonds forged over shared bartering could fuel camaraderie stronger than any cold front. But it's one of those mysteries with answers lost to time's quiet passage. Much like trading your go-to emoji for words that might truly capture a feeling. Once your purchases are secured, you return homeward, arms laden with both necessities and treats, each contributing to the promise of a warm evening feast. The children playing nearby call out greetings, their laughter rippling through the crisp air as their well-made snowmen take shape. You imagine these children, eyes alight with delight, looking up and seeing the world as a big playground, pushing them into smiles with nature's wintry canvas. Back at the cottage, the comforting aroma of today's cooking envelopes you as you prepare supper. The gentle crackle of the cooking fire forming the heartbeat of the home. As the evening meal simmers, you find yourself slipping into the familiar embrace of conversation, the rising steam serving as a gentle unifier in shared stories and laughter. Much like pouring fresh tea into waiting mugs, the warmth spills over, filling the room and casting a comforting glow over all. Later, as the last light dips beneath the horizon, the village is swallowed by a serene darkness, pierced only by stars winking through breaks in the clouded sky. There's a collective sigh in the evening's cadence, a signal that the day's work is done and now is the time for rest. A universal pause button before the inevitable streaming of another day. With the fire reduced to glowing, content embers, you retreat once more to your bed, tucking in around you the invisible threads of those shared moments that quietly knit the fabric of life. The tales from today blend seamlessly with those of nights past, forming a comforting backdrop for dreams that wait just beyond conscious thought. Here, cocooned in warmth, you discover peace more profound than any silence, the kind that whispers through history, settling softly across generations. As your eyes flutter closed, your mind yields to the gentle undercurrent of medieval winters. Here, in the quiet hush of night, dreams unfurl like tapestries in candlelight, welcoming you into the realm where stories never sleep, always unfolding in the gentle promise of tomorrow's dawn. Morning dawns in a subdued glow, the kind that wraps around you like a soft blanket, giving the day a tender start. You breathe in deeply, letting the crisp air fill your lungs as you emerge from the warm cocoon of your bed. It's as if the world is quietly whispering its secrets, urging you to step into its gentle embrace. You find solace in these moments of quiet reflection, where time seems to stretch and blend like colors in a watercolor painting. When you step outside, the village greets you with a familiar rhythm, a soft rustle that carries the sounds of life slowly unfurling. The snow crunches beneath your feet with each step, its crystalline surface glittering as the weak winter sun tries valiantly to warm the earth. Homes stand sturdy and steadfast, their thatched roofs dusted in snow, reminding you of cozy cottages and storybooks where magic lingers on every page. On your walk to the village center, you pass by households already bustling with activity, the smell of fresh bread wafting through the air as an early morning gift. It's the kind of scent that wraps around you like a hug from a loved one you haven't seen in a while. There's something almost sacred about this communal routine, making the everyday seem extraordinary, nearly akin to those unguarded moments captured and shared on social media, showing life unfiltered and real. Here's a quirky slice of history to carry along during your walk. Medieval people often believed that bread had protective properties, especially when blessed by the village baker. Bread wasn't just sustenance, but also a talisman against misfortune. If only charging your phone could ward off spams as impressively as these loaves guarded against ill luck. As you reach the marketplace, you notice a peculiar energy, a mix of commerce and camaraderie, bustling just beneath the surface of exchanged goods and lively banter. Stalls glow in the early light, showcasing the winter bounty. From dried herbs to salted meats, each vendor offering a piece of their craft. This swapping of necessities harks back to a timeless dance, a trusted rhythm that keeps the heart of the village beating through harsh winters. Historians still puzzle over the true extent of these market gatherings. Were they simply places of trade, or did they resonate with more profound significance, fostering connection at a level that even digital messaging can't quite replicate? That mystery remains open-ended, resting gently in the vaults of unrecorded history, like a letter never quite sent, but always held dear. Your errands complete, you stroll back home, arms loaded with modest treasures, and head filled with snippets of gossip and stories swapped over shared wares. Villagers wave you along, their faces flushed with cold and warmth alike, voices a melodious undercurrent beneath the conversation-laden air. It's a scene reminding you how community offers refuge against the blunt edge of solitude. Back in your snug home, you settle by the hearth, the room aglow in the fire's warmth. A comfort mirrored in the modern delight of catching up on messages from friends. Each word a cozy thread that stitches the evening together. The evening meal forms with a graceful simplicity, each ingredient a gift of the surrounding land, each flavor a moment slowly savored like a favorite dessert. As the evening unfolds, laughter fills the room, a warm counterpoint to the biting cold outside. Tales are exchanged, a tapestry of humor and wisdom, woven with love and shared experiences. There's something timeless about these gatherings, where each story told and every smile shared becomes a part of a larger narrative, connecting the past with the present, almost like watching home videos of old memories played across time's vast screen. Finally, as the fire sighs and dims, you rise to your waiting bed, the room nestled in soft shadows that lull everything to rest. As the village quiets and the night air draws its cool, dark mantle close, you slip beneath your blankets, retreating into the gentle world of dreams. The tales, the shared laughter, and the warmth of this winter night hold you, a tender cradle beneath the stars, a whisper of history passing through the stories of now. And so, you drift, caught in the gentle weave of sleep's embrace, where time is bound not by boundaries, but by softly dying embers of yet another day. As dawn unfurls its pale fingers across the village, you awaken to a world softly painted in hues of gray and white, the air filled with the stillness of a winter morning. Slowly, you emerge from the warm sanctuary of your blankets, feeling the crisp chill of the air as it greets your skin like an old, familiar friend. There's a gentle anticipation in the quiet, a promise that today holds something special, whispered in the cold breath of nature itself. Stepping outside, you're enveloped by the tranquil beauty of the snow-covered landscape, each step leaving a crisp impression in the frost-speckled path. The village begins its slow, steady weave into life, like lines of poetry written across an ancient manuscript. You walk through the streets, the sound of your footsteps a rhythmic accompaniment to the songs of this sleepy morning. Today, there's a sense of purpose in the air. Preparations for a midwinter gathering, an event marked by the rhythms of the seasons and the collective heartbeat of the community. It's reminiscent of the buzz before a big family dinner. Everyone bustling about, contributing what they can, oblivious to the cold nipping at your heels like an eager puppy. Approaching the village hall, you find townsfolk already abuzz with activity, the building a hive of merry industry. Inside, tables are laden with the village's best. Thick stews bubbling in cauldrons, loaves of bread standing proudly as sentinels of abundance, and sweets resting enticingly on platters. The mingling aromas combine into a symphony of comforts, a celebration of survival through the harsh winter months. Here's a quirky historical nugget to chew over. Medieval feasts weren't just about satiating hunger. They were often themed around tales from folklore, with dishes acting as characters in the stories. Imagine the creativity a host could bring, crafting meals that tell a story, much like a storyteller weaving a tale. And suddenly, your simple stew becomes a dragon's lair, waiting to be conquered by brave taste buds. In the heart of these gatherings, a table for storytelling is set, where elders and younglings alike take turns spinning tales. Each story a thread that binds, a whisper carried from one heart to another. Historians still debate whether these gatherings influenced the social hierarchies or simply provided a stage where everyone stood equal, united by the warmth and narrative spun into each evening's fabric. As the tale-telling unfolds, laughter and cheer echo through the hall, filling every corner with warmth strong enough to fend off even the most biting chill. You find yourself enveloped in the merriment, each anecdote a soft glow against the winter's breath outside. It reminds you of sitting around with friends, recounting your favorite, sometimes embarrassing, stories that cement friendships, moments peppered across time like stars in a night sky. As daylight wanes, The feast reaches its height, the music rising to meet it. Instruments come alive, filling the room with melodies that lift hearts and feet alike. It's an exuberant release, a frenzy of movement bringing stories to life in a dance where dreams touch the ground with playful grace. Each villager becomes a part of this living tapestry, threads entwining as they twirl and leap in time with notes that span centuries. Eventually, the night winds down, the music softens, and the village hall transitions back to its quieter self as embers glow softly beneath the cooling stone hearths. With cheeks flushed and hearts full, you gather yourself for the journey home, cradling the night's memories like cherished mementos touched by magic. As you make your way through the sleeping village, the sky twinkles above, stars peeking through clouds in shy recognition of the world below. Feeling the gentle pull of slumber, you slip into bed, reflecting on the shared stories of the day, their energy gently rocking you, ushering you softly into the world of dreams. Now bundled in sleep's embrace, you find yourself carried into a realm where tales of old mingle with the familiar cadences of your life, forging a bridge across time's whispering stream. Here, nestled under the stars' watchful gaze, you are cradled by the timeless stories that weave through dreams, held by the peaceful promise of tomorrow's dawn. The village awakens under a blanket of fresh snow, each flake a tiny whisper of winter's secrets gently placed upon the earth. You stir from a night of deep, refreshing slumber, feeling the familiar pull of a new day, inviting you to explore the world outside. There's a calmness in the air, like the serene quiet that follows a well-loved lullaby, wrapping the village in a sense of gentle expectancy. Emerging from your warm cocoon, you're met by the invigorating chill of morning. The air crisp and clear as it wraps itself around you like a cool, bracing embrace. The sky stretches above, a vast canvas capturing the airy breaths of dawn as they mingle with the horizon. You step outside, feeling the snow crunch beneath your feet, each step leaving an imprint like a tiny story etched upon the world. Today, the village moves with a leisurely grace, the pace unhurried as people go about their daily routines under the watchful eye of winter's silvered gift. It's a day woven with simplicity, where tasks as simple as gathering firewood or tending to livestock take on a rhythm both ancient and comforting. Like the predictable spin of a vinyl record playing a timeless tune you know by heart. On your walk to the communal well, you note the gentle hum of life enveloping you, a collective melody rising from the village's heartbeat. Neighbors greet each other warmly, exchanging news and laughter as you all gather to draw water, the rope creaking in rhythm with your friendly banter. There's an ease in the air, an understanding that the day holds space for both work and camaraderie. Here's an amusing tidbit for you. During medieval times, wells were not just sources of water, but also places where folklore thrived, each well believed to hold the spirit of a guardian. It's said to focus your wish, while drawing water was tantamount to a silent promise whispered to the well. So think of it as the original way we make wishes upon stars, or that quiet moment when you find a four-leaf clover in the grass, barely there, but full of hopeful meaning. As daylight stretches into the afternoon, you find yourself engrossed in the simple pleasures of village life, where chores transform into opportunities for shared stories and laughter. Historians still debate whether these daily interactions were the true backbone of medieval societies, fostering bonds that fortify communities through shared struggles and celebrations, or Were they simply habitations of necessity woven into life's intricate pattern? Returning home, cheeks flushed from laughter and cold, you set about preparing the evening meal. The kitchen fills with the comforting aroma of herbs and baking bread, the scents mingling like old friends around a warm hearth. These sensory delights anchor you, drawing you into the rhythm of the hearth as the sun slips low, wrapping the village in its tender embrace. By the time night falls, the room is aglow with the gentle light of candles, each flame flickering like a small, spirited guardian against the encroaching dark. The meal shared with family and friends forms a sanctuary within the night, transforming sustenance into something deeply cherished, much like finding solace in the familiar shadows of a place you've known forever. Conversations drift lazily over the table, weaving together threads of the day with dreams of tomorrow. Here, everyone finds a voice in the quiet symphony, each tale another ripple in the shared tapestry of your lives. It is in these moments, surrounded by loved ones, that you find the secret warmth of winter's heart, a warmth that binds with a tenderness forged through the ages, reflected in every smile and soft-spoken word. As the night wanes, you find solace in the deep quiet that envelops the village, its rhythm lulling you to sleep with the steady beat of history's heart. You slip back into bed, the blankets gathering around you like a cherished history book, pages softly turned by the flickering light of yesteryear's dreams. It's comforting to think that you're part of this endless cycle, an unbroken chain of warmth and connection that stretches back through time. Thus, as the starlight dances through your window, you surrender to the gentle lull of sleep. Here, beneath the watchful eyes of ancient constellations, your dreams weave with the whispers of medieval nights. You are carried away on the river of time, cradled by stories that have been told and retold, spun anew each night, promising the quiet wonder of dawn yet to unfold. The first light of dawn spills softly over the village, painting everything in pale hues of pink and lavender. It's a gentle awakening, like the slow brush of fingers over a piano, setting the tone for the day ahead. You stretch beneath the comforting weight of your blankets, savoring the moment before the chill of the floor greets your bare feet. The world outside is quiet, cocooned in the silence that only a snow-covered landscape can provide, as if time itself is holding its breath. Stepping out into the morning, you're greeted by the sight of snowflakes lazily drifting down, each one a delicate whisper from the winter sky. Your breath hangs in the air, visible in puffs like small clouds carrying the morning's secrets. The village is wrapped in a pristine blanket, every branch and rooftop iced in crystalline beauty. It's an inviting scene that beckons you forward, encouraging exploration with a promise of discovery in the familiar paths. Today carries with it the promise of a quieter day, a chance to engage in the gentle rituals that define home life. There are tasks to attend to, but they move with a rhythm that allows for reflection, the kind of day where you find joy in the most mundane activities. Your first objective is breakfast, and as you gather ingredients, the kitchen fills with the scent of warm porridge simmering, cozy, and nourishing. As you stir the pot, you consider the simpler things, like the fact that in medieval times, meals such as this were staples that held communities together. The act of eating, much like now, was a communal affair, something to be savored in both flavor and company. It's not so unlike sharing a meal with family while updating them on life's latest episodes. the small details binding everyone closer, even from afar. With breakfast concluded, you turn to the tasks awaiting your attention. The snow makes the perfect canvas for children, visible outside your window as they sculpt figures from snow with all the fervor of young artists at work. It's a cheerful scene, reminiscent of how joy takes shape in the small things, like capturing unexpected moments on a camera roll, later reflecting on the genuine smiles with contentment. In the lull of the afternoon, there's time for storytelling, an age-old tradition that brings you together with neighbors gathered around a fire. Each story is a bridge to another realm, a glimpse into the wonders and hardships long past. Historians still discuss whether these stories served merely as entertainment or played a vital role in passing down lessons through generations. It's like listening to podcasts in today's world, feeding curiosity and sparking imagination, one tale at a time. As the tales swirl around you, you find your mind drifting to one of the best-loved legends in your village, the story of a kind-hearted villager who braved the winter woods to save a creature trapped by ice, only to learn it was a magical being rewarded with eternal luck. It's an enchanting thought, the idea of bravery and kindness becoming a beacon through the darkest months, inspiring generations with the promise that even the smallest actions can yield great rewards. The afternoon wanes, and shadows stretch languidly across the snow as you retire to your home, the warmth within embracing you like an old friend. Dinner preparations begin, a simple meal blossoming into a feast for the senses. Each ingredient is a note in a quiet symphony, played out under the soft light of candles, their glow reflecting in the eyes of those gathered around the table. The night unfolds with a gentle rhythm, laughter and warmth rounding out the edges of the day. Conversations amble lazily through the room, wrapping around you like a favorite scarf on an especially brisk evening. Here, stories are traded, hearts laid bare, and a shared understanding that life is about weaving together these beautiful, fleeting moments helps pass the winter's night. As bedtime beckons, you find solace in the routine of preparing for sleep. The simple act of tucking yourself under warm blankets, as satisfying as a well-loved refrain. You lie in the gentle embrace of night, eyes fluttering closed as your mind drifts through the stories of today, those tales now intertwined with your dreams. And so, you slumber, held by the kindness of this winter world, your dreams cradling the whispers of days long past, lovingly carried across time's currents. Beneath the eternal watch of stars, each a tiny stitch in the tapestry of the sky, you are reminded that your place is right here in these quiet nights, where past and present dance together in a sleepy waltz to the promise of morning's dawn. You awaken to the delicate hush of a new day, the village wrapped snugly under its blanket of snow. The cold has a way of making the morning light seem softer, as if each beam stretches out just a bit slower, encouraging you to savor these first few moments between dreaming and waking. You lay there for a little while longer, bundled warmly, listening to the world wake up around you, a symphony of the quiet creaks and murmurs of a village coming to life. The air is crisp when you finally step outside, the kind that pricks your skin awake like a splash of cold water. But there's a beauty in it all, in how the frosty air mingles with the warmth of the day's first sunlight, painting a scene that's both stark and breathtaking. Today feels like a day full of potential, the kind where you might discover something extraordinary even in the ordinary. The village is a flurry of activity, a tapestry of sights and sounds woven against the snowy backdrop. You join the rhythm of daily life, moving with purpose, yet leaving space for spontaneous bits of joy, like the delighted shouts of children as they race down a small hill, sliding over well-packed snow with enviable ease. Their laughter floats through the village square, infecting all within earshot with a sense of mirth and possibility. There's something quietly emotive about gathering around the communal well today. It seems to serve as more than just a place to fetch water, but as a familiar meeting spot for exchange of news and pleasantries, a living thread of communication that binds you all together. It's akin to that online forum where everyone gathers to share and laugh. Except here, each smile and nod is a tangible thing, warmed by the human experience. While filling buckets, you consider a fun fact about medieval life. Wells often were sites of whispered blessings, places where hopes were both spilled and fulfilled through the ritual of day-to-day life. It's like the early form of manifesting your dreams, spoken softly over water, carried far by the ripples of nature's silent promise. As midday warmth begins to melt the edge of the frost, you find yourself drawn to the hearth's glow back home, the fire's light flickering as a sentinel against the chill. You take this time for yourself, indulging in the quiet creation of a meal, where each ingredient is added with care, building flavors in a way that feels both ancient and innately satisfying. The scents and sounds envelop you, much like the retro appeal of vinyl records spinning warm nostalgia into simple moments. Afternoon gives way to evening, with the village donning a peaceful tranquility that fits as comfortably as an old favorite sweater. You gather wooden logs, feeding the fire a diet as hearty as your own, watching as flames leap to life, their light illuminating the hearth and casting playful shadows onto the walls. It's a dance as old as time, this ritual of warmth and light repeating through history, while the glow becomes a resting place for weary thoughts. As night settles over the village, the soft glow of candles sets the scene for the evening's respite. They flicker gently like small beacons, offering a soft hymn of warmth and protection against the dark. Each candle, a keeper of shared stories, woven from laughter and gentle musings of the day's passage. The conversations drift through familiar circles, gently swaying between smiles and easy silences, like waves lapping against an eternal shore. Historians wonder whether these repetitive, comforting gatherings were simply tradition or served as a necessary balm for the human spirit. Perhaps it's like today's streaming marathons of comforting shows, rituals to cling to when the world seems vast and unknown. In the comforting quiet of sleep's embrace, you find space for your thoughts to unfurl and settle, just as each snowflake finds its place upon the ground. Wrapped snugly in the warmth of your blankets, you drift into dreams that weave seamlessly with the tales and moments of the day. So you slumber, cradled by the harmonious melodies of medieval life, whisked away on the gentle currents of time's river. Here, under the watchful eyes of stars tucked into the velvet night, you find peace. You float through dreams filled with whispered stories of the past, through landscapes both familiar and new, toward the gentle promise of another dawn. A new morning breathes its quiet promise over the village, each ray of light threading softly through the crisp winter air. You find yourself cozily cocooned in the lingering warmth of sleep, enjoying those first few tranquil moments before the day truly begins. It feels like the world is holding its breath, an ephemeral pause that lets you transition gently from the world of dreams to the gentle rhythm of waking life. Once you've finally mustered the will to leave your warm sanctuary, you step outside and are greeted by the fresh, invigorating scent of a snowy landscape. The village sprawls before you, each snow-covered roof and frost-tipped fence glimmering in the morning light, as if nature itself has adorned everything in a mantle of soft white. It's a day like any other, yet it holds within it all the small, meaningful rituals that stitch together the fabric of village life. You wander through the familiar lanes, each step crunching beneath your feet, echoing a soundtrack both timeless and comforting. Among the villagers, greetings are exchanged as naturally as breaths, a subtle nod to the shared experience draping over the village like a patchwork quilt. Today's chores carry you to the edge of the village, where the woods whisper in their timeless language, branches still heavy with snow, sweet pockets of breath and birdsong twirl within the trees, offering reminders of life moving quietly beneath winter's cloak. Gathering kindling is akin to searching through the archives of shared history, each choice deliberate and carried forward as a silent witness to resilience. In medieval times, some people believed the forest's edge was home to spirits, benign and mischievous alike, urging neighbors to step lightly and mindfully. It's a whimsical echo of those stories whispered around campfires. The idea that every nook and cranny holds a story just waiting to be discovered. Perhaps these whispers are simply the forest's way of reminding humanity of its own endless mysteries. Returning with your bounty, you pass the village market, where the day's wares are displayed and traded with that same familiar camaraderie. The vendors offer their goods with smiles and knowing nods, the transactions flowing as smoothly as a favorite melody, one that hums in the background of life's everyday ballet. Historians still puzzle over whether these gatherings served as mere necessity or something more, a primal need for connection, resonating through each exchange of goods and news. We all have our own versions of these communal habits, whether in bustling coffee shops or texting with friends across glinting screens. These interactions may seem small, yet they weave a complex tapestry of togetherness that holds strong against time's relentless march. The afternoon finds you back in the comforting embrace of your home, preparing a simple meal that comes alive with familiar scents and flavors. The fire crackles merrily, flames curling around the logs, like an old friend pulling you into an embrace. The warmth spreads across the room, melding with the aroma of herbs and spices, much like a cozy scented candle, brightening a dim winter dusk. As dusk settles in, the shadows grow deeper, softening edges and inviting introspection. The village, cloaked in twilight, feels almost magical, a storybook world where snowflakes drift down slowly, carrying secrets infinitely small and infinitely grand. You find a quiet contentment in watching the day transition softly into night, a peaceful coda set against the backdrop of the murmuring village. Gathered once more around the hearth's glow, you and your companions share stories and songs that echo like threads woven through time. Each tale is a familiar refrain, a shared experience that transcends individual lives, binding you to generations past and those still to come. It's not unlike listening to a vinyl record's warm crackle, comforting in its repetition, each note a promise that some things remain unchanging. As the fire flickers low, you retreat to bed, cocooned in the warmth of your blankets, the room lit softly by the moon's ethereal glow. You nestle in, lulled by the comforting rhythm of the night, world fading into dreams that whisper of places both seen and unseen. In this lull, enveloped by the quiet heartbeat of a medieval winter, you are swept into dreams stitched with stories both old and new. You drift along time's sinuous path, cradled by the threads of a shared human experience, carrying you gently toward another dawn where possibilities wait, eager to unfurl beneath the watchful eye of a waking sky.